And we will open the council meeting to jointly with the commissioners.
We will open the commissioner meeting to be jointly with.
So, in our joint meeting today, we have 3 items on the agenda. First one is, bridge bond review, the reserve fund is, Dave. And well, with that last name.
Goodell,
Okay.
similar to the NFL commissioner, which is spelled a little different.
Good morning.
Pronounced the same. Good morning.
Not sure the protocol of this. I have some packets, some information which I pass out to you all.
Sure. This all came about on a question, something came up on the bridge bonds and the reserve money.
Correct.
I don't know if any of us understood anything.
And that's typical, actually. Most people do not understand exactly how this works. So,
Thank you.
I'll take it.
While that's going on, mind me asking, you can tell us all where it's from.
Yeah, so from our closest office is St. Louis. We have a few around the country. I'll just give an overview. So I'm from a small business investment firm called Arbitrage Management Group. And our main focus is, our primary focus is the investment of bond proceeds, and more specifically reserve funds that a lot of these revenue bonds have. Like I said, we're located, one of our offices is located in St. Louis. We have one in California, a couple in Florida. But we're basically on the road. I cover a lot of the Midwestern territory, Ohio, Indiana, and Wisconsin. So I'm on the road quite a bit. So, and I actually work out of my home office technically, but when I'm not on the road. So, but we do have lots of clients in the Midwest and around the country, but have a good footprint in the Midwest. Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you. Good morning. So, again, my name is Dave Goodell, and I am, like I said, part of a small business investment firm called Arbitrage Management Group. And as I mentioned, we specialize in the investment of bond proceeds. It's a lot of when bonds get funded, majority of the money goes towards project funds, construction funds, or refunding of an existing bond. A lot of revenue bonds have reserve funds also, and the reserve funds are basically there as a safety net. So if there's an issue with paying your bondholders, the borrowers, you can tap into that money. That's the only thing it can be used for. And it's really, it's easier to market a bond to the investing community if you have this fund in place. So if you look at the document here, I'm gonna go through it relatively quickly, but I originally met with Tammy and with Stacy last month to bring this information to them. The original meeting was like a fact-finding mission for me and also an educational for them, because this is something that a lot of people aren't aware of that you can do. So with Newton County, you have 2 bonds that are existing, 2 revenue bonds, one from 2014 and one from 2016. The bridge bonds, I believe is what you use them, you call them. And they're funded with, I guess, landfill tipping fees. That's what I was sort of told. That's how they're paid. Each of the bonds themselves, though, have a reserve fund totaling just under $800,000 combined. And that reserve fund, again, is there just in case you can't make a bond payment. It's idle money, it's dead money. It just has to sit there for the life of the bond until the bonds mature. And the thought behind this is that the money, the value of that reserve fund is about, give or take, 1 year's worth of principal and interest. So if you ever had to tap into it, which you've never had to in the years you've had these bonds, but if you ever had to tap into it, you would never need all of it. At most you would need half of it, and even that you probably would never touch half of it. You may just need a little bit of it. But 98 to 99% of these revenue bonds around the country, you never tap into these funds. They're just there as a safety net, as I said, and as a better way to market the bond to the investing community. But you're still required to have it. That's the key. And what happens generally when these bonds are funded, this money gets put into generally like a short-term money market account with the trustee bank, and your trustee bank is BOK Financial. They will, as a trustee, they will always hold the funds. They will hold it regardless if it's in cash form or if it's in investment securities. So they always hold custody of it. I never come in and ask for custody of it. It's always stays with them. But it is in an unmanaged money market account today, in a variable rate account. And that variable rate account has been coming down the last year with interest rates coming down. And as it happens today, the Fed is meeting again and they're looking to cut rates another quarter point with future cuts coming really, really soon. So the idea would be to get this money maybe into some fixed income investments that are allowed by your bond indentures, that are written in your bond indentures, to fix that rate over time. I already mentioned here about the requirement for the debt service reserve fund. So if I go down to the investment of funds at the bottom of that first page, I mentioned your bond counsel wrote in what you can invest in. So it can be in cash in money market, but it also could be in what's listed here, which I pulled out of your bond indentures, which are US Treasury bonds and bills, US government agency bonds, Indiana municipal bonds, and CDs. We rarely recommend CDs for bond proceeds just because they're not flexible. If you want to get out of them early, you have to pay withdrawal fees and penalties. Whereas with bonds, you can liquidate things early. You know, there's not too much of an issue with that. But these are all fixed rate incomes, again, which once they're locked in, they will not change. The rates won't change. And you can actually make this money that's sitting idle work a little bit better for the county. The excess that you earn on that would go towards actually helping you make bond payments. So the more you can earn on that, the less you have to actually fund the fund for the bondholders. So if you go on to the second page here, this is just a little bit of a history of, how does this work in terms of high level first. So this first chart you see here is a chart of the federal funds rate, which is the rate that you always hear about in the news. The Fed's going to lower it, the Fed's going to raise it. This is the rate they're talking about. Historically speaking, if you look at this chart, it goes back to 2008, but if you went even further back, historically speaking, this rate has been pretty close to zero. So that's great for people that are buying houses, borrowing money to buy cars and that type of thing. But when it gets higher, like it did in the last couple of years because of inflation, everybody's experiencing the inflation, from 2022 on, 9+%, the Fed raises that rate to try to de-incentivize people from borrowing money. But on the flip side, that helps for people that are investing in short-term investments. So the money that the money market that this money has been sitting in the last couple of years has been doing pretty well. But there's nothing that anybody has ever done to do that. It's just artificially raised by the Fed. This Fed funds rate is directly correlated to those money market rates. So when the Fed started lowering last year, your money market rate with BOK came down equivalent. With the Fed cutting today, this afternoon, almost 100% for sure. And then a couple more times this year and probably a few times next year, those rates are going to continue to get closer and closer to the 1% and to zero, which is where the current administration wants it, and where it's easier to now borrow money and buy houses and that type of thing. So again, the idea would be to hedge that and try to get into some of those very safe and very secure investments that your bond indenture allows, those treasuries and agencies and that type of thing. If you can see that chart that's in black there, it just gives you, it's a chart from Bloomberg, a subscription that we subscribe to, and it just shows the percentage of the chance of when a rate cut's going to happen. So there's definitely today's going to happen. I would say 99.9% of the chance. And then going forward, you can see there's a really good chance this rate is going to come down over time. I could envision by March the rate coming down 1 to 1.25%. So again, you can hedge that with this fund that's earning, what it is in the money market right now by locking in with these fixed rate investments. All right, any questions right now before I go to the last page? It's a lot of information. It's new information. I get it. Our strategies are pretty simple. The strategy for these reserve funds specifically are very simple. We like to do a laddered strategy, 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year generally. So we would take 1/3 of these funds and then break it up into those 1, 2, and 3 year securities with a mix of whatever's best at the time, treasuries and agency bonds. Currently, as of end of last week, and I checked this morning, it's basically the same. The approximate net yield right now for those securities are between 3.1 and 3.4%, which is about a little over $50,000 in earnings over the duration, plus any reinvestments you might do going forward. So the issue is that there's a little sentence at the bottom of that top chart there where it says the yields are down about 20 basis points since I first met with Tammy and with Stacy, and that's because the investing community has started to price in the upcoming rate reductions. So they've actually they're starting to get out of those shorter term investments and moving into longer term investments, which increases the prices of those investments and lowers the yields. So basically the 3.1 to 3.4, as we get closer and we get this rate cut today and future rate cuts probably are going to continue to come down in a similar manner. So, they always ask, what's the best time to invest when you're doing these type of things? I always say today, whether that's today is tomorrow or the next day, it's always that day is the best because you don't know you don't have a crystal ball to know exactly what's going to happen. But I think, locking what you can, what you know right now, you have the bird in one hand, so to speak. That's you're able to actually at least know what you're going to earn, and you can forecast those earnings, and you can actually plan what you want to do with those earnings going forward. So comparing the rates, that little chart there basically talks about the blue line there is the federal funds rate, which I talked about before. The orange line is the money market that BOK that this money is sitting in right now, and you can see it coming down, basically equivalent. Starting from September on, that's the projection, what the Fed's going to do and what will happen with the BOK. And then the 3.1 to 3.4 range of what these the securities you can get into with this money, that's what it would show. And this only goes out to a year from now. That 3.1 or 3.4 will go out for another year or two. So because you can't project what the Fed's going to do beyond a year. They don't provide that, but at least you would lock that in for a duration and be able to take advantage of, hedging these lower rates, the lower rates that are going to be coming down. I wouldn't just specifically focus on the specific exact numbers, just the strategy, I think is really the idea where you're actually having somebody like myself come in and proactively manage this specific fund for you. It is our bread and butter. It's what we do. Like I mentioned, we reach out to underserved and unserved communities and municipalities that don't have an investment firm that's looking at all this. And even the larger investment firms don't even really focus on this because it's such a nuance and such a niche that not many people do. So the last section there talks about opportunity cost and benefits. I did want to talk a little bit about question may come up is, how do I get paid? Well, I can do it for free, I guess, but I don't necessarily want to. We get paid on a specific commission basis on the transactions themselves. So there's never anything out of pocket for our clients, no invoices, no bills. It's very similar to a real estate transaction where the realtor gets a percentage of the sale, or if you went to your own bank and bought a CD yourself, you get the CD at 3%. You don't pay the bank for anything, but they have a commission on that. So it's very similar to that. We don't, like I said, we don't invoice for anything. It's nothing that you have to budget for our services. The commission's at one time. It's not an ongoing thing. It's at the time of transaction, but at the same time, as a client, I continue to work for you throughout the year. I'm providing market updates. If something extraordinary change happens in the market, I would let you guys know, and make sure that you understand that what may happen for a reinvestment that might be coming up. So I'm always continually keeping tabs on what's going on for all of my clients, even though I only get paid at that point of transaction. So that's just the model we decided to use, and I think it works well because it makes me want to continue to earn your business. Because there's no contracts, there's no commitments, there's no 3-year. You're going to work with us for 3 years. It's if you don't like what's happening, when a security matures, you just don't reinvest. So that's sort of the way we go around this. Just the other opportunities here is the benefits. You can predict the cash flow and the earnings. it's somebody like me proactively managing this for you at no cost to you directly. And the ladder strategies give us the opportunity to take advantage of the market, whether it goes up or down. And one other thing it's not on the sheet here, I thought about, when we're talking about risk, these securities that your bond allows are very low risk. The money stays with BOK. That's the other part of it, as I mentioned before. And it's actually riskier technically to keep this money in a cash form with BOK because BOK is a bank. And they're a pretty strong bank, but banks have been known to close, and FDIC only insures $250,000. You probably see that at your bank, and sign every window that says only insure up to $250,000. So if something were to happen with BOK, you'd only be guaranteed to get $250,000 of this money back. Whereas if it's in US government securities, they guarantee the whole thing. So that's sort of the idea. And again, it's not a huge risk to keep it in cash, but it's just one thing I like to throw out there when people say, oh, it's riskier to go this way than it is to leave it where it is, when in reality, it really isn't. So there's some near-term payoff. And I think over time, though, as these bonds have another 9 to 11 years left on them, that over time, you're going to truly see the benefit of proactive management, having somebody come in, an expert, somebody that's licensed like I am, to be able to provide this benefit over time and, help you, offset some of these costs with these bonds. So any questions? There's a lot of information. Percentage of?
What you're gonna make.
So we are capped at 0.5%, but it varies. It depends on the security and the duration. So I can't give you specifics, it depends on, whatever the day that we move forward, if we move forward, and the securities we pick, they're anywhere from, well, I say zero, it's not gonna be zero, but above 0 to up to 2.5%.
That percent is based on transactions.
It's based on the yield itself. So that's how it's calculated.
So the short intermediate investments, is that basically meaning that you're day trading?
No, not at all. Once the ladder strategy here basically is for, we're not doing anything day trading at all. We would pick a 1 year, or I would pick a 1 year and a 2 year and a 3 year and lock you into those for that duration. So it's not, we're going back and forth like that. It's nothing like that at all. We pick the best available securities at the time of the day that we decided that, we collectively decide to move forward. And at that point, we lock in those rates for that period of time, or those yields for that period of time.
How can you actually invest funds that you can't day trade?
As a licensed municipal advisor, I can give you, so technically you're doing the investing. So, we never take, as I mentioned, we never take custody of these funds, and your bond documents actually give you the authority to provide written direction to your trustee bank BOK. So technically you're doing the investing. We're providing the advice on that based on the expertise. So the way it works is, I would bring a final strategy with some specific securities. And I don't know if it's Tammy or somebody else would verbally approve, yes, move forward with that. And then we would have our buying desk make those purchases. There's a trade ticket that's generated for each one of those securities, so 3 in this case. And that's what you would all sign to authorize the sweeping out of the cash out of the account and putting the securities in the same fund. So we don't ever actually physically or legally make the transaction itself. It's you all that actually sign the document based on advice in our strategy and recommendations.
So you basically come up with an idea for our bank to invest.
Yes.
Is the bank gonna be getting any cut out of this investment?
No, so your trustee bank, their role specifically is basically threefold. So they hold custody of the money. You're paying them as your trustee for this right now. So you're paying them fees for these 2 bonds regardless of how this money sits, but they hold custody of the funds. They provide you monthly statements just to show how the account is doing. And then they're also your paying agent. So they'll make the bond payments every 6 months. That's their only role. They actually also, being a bank, and this is part obviously of any bank's business model, is they would actually rather be in cash anyway, so they can re-lend it out for mortgages and car loans. if we decide to move forward and we recommend these securities and these securities that get deposited, that cash gets swept out. And then you earn what you're earning specifically on those yields. And they don't earn anything, just to get back to your question, they won't earn anything off of that, those transactions. They'll still get your fees, that type of thing that they're doing to manage the money or to hold the money. But they don't get any additional fees.
It's not like we're paying 0.5%.
No. No,
I just want to be sure of that.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
You said that our current, funds are not doing bad.
correct. They're doing, yeah.
When I was looking over some of those documents, I can't help but think that I was reading something wrong, but it was looking like that our yield or our percentage of we're actually making off of those investments was less than 0.5%. Is that incorrect?
I think that's incorrect. I think what, Tammy got me the statements from BOK when I was with her last year. I think you're around 4%. You were back in April around 4%. That was the statement I saw for these specific funds.
And those are based off what kind of investments?
Those funds are actually default, as I mentioned, they're defaulted by the bank into a default money market account that it's based off of US government treasuries generally. I think that's what what they have to, they can't put you in anything speculative. So they'll put you in that default money market at whatever that rate is. And I think it was a few months ago, 4%, but it is coming down. But yeah, it's more than the 0.5% you're talking about.
So the current rate we're getting now is roughly 3.5,
Something like that.
something like that. You're saying we can do better than that?
What I can do is I can lock you in at a rate, it might be a little bit lower than what it is today. But with the Fed cutting rates 1/4 point today, that 3.5 is gonna come down 1/4 point. And with the projections of the next couple of months, there's 2 more Fed meetings this year. And of course, there are, I think, 8 or 9 next year. There are high projections that it's gonna come down another 3/4 to maybe more than 100 basis points in the next 6 months. So
Powell's directed his feet on lower 1/4 rate. You really think it's gonna lower it another 1/4.5?
that's what the projections, well, within the next 6 to 12 months, yes. I mean, Powell's term ends in May. So there are,
See, things change when you're not.
so but the projections on that one chart I showed you on page 2, that Bloomberg chart these are experts that are in the field and they're projecting that there's gonna be those additional reductions. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball.
No,
You know.
as much as he's not one of the low.
I know, and he's coming fighting tooth and nail on this one today. But again, you're able to, like I said, you're able to lock in something and you know what it's gonna be for the duration as opposed to, is Powell gonna do it, is he not, how much, how little, more than likely it's gonna come down, but maybe not, so you just don't know.
I don't see him raising the factory.
No, exactly, there's nobody that's saying that right now.
So what the county earns is locked in, but we still have access to it.
Yes,
Like it's not committed like a CD. like-
no, exactly, yeah,
So that's the bonus.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much easier to have access if you did need to tap into it.
On the bond documents, who is listed as who in Newton County government would be making that decision? Is it?
Well, it's a redevelopment authority bond, yeah,
So,
yeah, so I'm not sure who that would be specifically.
I'm sure it's on the development commissioners, I think.
The redevelopment commission.
That's the redevelopment authority. It's the authority. not
The authority is
commission.
the 3 commissioners.
That's what I thought. It's the redevelopment authority, which is the commissioners.
Yes.
The redevelopment commission, 5, so.
Correct.
So. I think this is probably a commissioner decision.
I still want to know you guys.
I would think that I would hope that they would
Everybody
be
involved in that.
it's hard input, but.
Yeah.
I believe that's the way that was all set up. Because I really confused and all that and what's going on. I mean, it is the authority.
I believe so.
Development authority.
As far as who makes the decision, it's not really a big thing for me, just my opinion, my understanding of what this is compared to what resumes it, which is not very long.
I didn't even realize that there was reserve built into that, but we didn't know what it was.
And most people don't. They're put on autopilot, these bonds after time. And it's,
Since you aren't, I'm gonna be able to hear all of that.
oh, really?
Obviously, I didn't have a clear understanding.
And that's part of my job is education. I mean, just a lot of people aren't
I
aware.
couldn't figure out why we were earning money. Money we had borrowed.
Yeah,
I see.
Make any sense.
Count now, so it'll fluctuate and go down if they do lower rates a lot.
Yeah.
Which might be a little lucky, new lower rates, but
Yeah.
if you lock it in at 3.5 right now.
Yeah.
It goes back to 2 next year.
yeah, exactly.
Money market accounts was just like safe investments, basically.
Well, it's still a security. He's not buying stocks, he's buying government bonds or. And I think the only difference is you're locking in 3.4 is not great, but it could be 2 by next year. And that's gonna money market, they paid 0 before. I mean, it's.
Yeah, like historically, it's been, like I said, it's been between 0 and 1% most of history. So,
I don't see it negative, and if this, in today's market, I don't see a positive, nothing change here or not, you would get positive.
yeah.
Are these fairly, are they fairly liquid, so 18 months from now, inflation is crazy and rates start going back up, or take advantage of the flip side?
Yeah, and that's the idea with the ladder strategy. So you don't put everything in one bucket. So put everything in 3 year and you have to wait for 3 years to ensure. If we go this route, we do 1 year, 2 year and 3 year, if rates go up, you'll have a third of that portfolio maturing quickly enough that you can reinvest at the higher yields. And if rates come down like they're projected to, you have 2/3 of the portfolio protected with the higher rates. So that's the benefit. It's the tortoise versus the hare analogy, basically. You're taking your time here. There's no home runs in this scenario. It's just a lot of singles, basically, over time.
Anything that we make off this is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And we're capped at what we borrowed at, is that what?
Yes.
I understand?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, so there's the, if, that's where the name of our company comes from, Arbitrage Management Group. So if you're familiar with the term arbitrage, it's basically in this context, like you're right, you're not supposed to earn more than what you borrowed the money for.
Right.
So in the case of these two, they were 3.4 and 3.5%. But that's cumulative, and I think for the most of this time, you've been, other than the last couple of years, you've been well under that earning wise.
Cumulative for a lifetime?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. You can go into, there's one security and you are eligible for them. It's the Indiana Municipal Securities. You can invest in those and keep any of that excess that you may earn above the borrowing rate. So, I look at those two as a potentiality, but generally it's just treasuries and agencies are most of the time going to be the ones you use. So.
very informative.
So currently, the earnings that we're getting off of this, where is that money going? Do we want to debt service of the bonds or?
So according to your, let me just take a quick look, because every bond is different. I believe it goes to, the excess is supposed to be swept out by the trustee, BOK, once or twice a year, and then put it towards the next bond payment.
That's kind of agreement.
Yeah, so
Did that change with this?
it would not change, because they'll sweep out whatever, because basically, you'll have your principal locked in for the duration, and then you get interest payments every 6 months that go back into the money market. So they're supposed to sweep that out and put it into the other account to help make the next bond payment, interest or principal payment.
If you look at our statements there, it does break it out into 4, like who's paid off so much and now it's the debt. So yes, it does show the breakout in all the statements.
The statements from the bond.
Yeah, we get them up there.
What do you guys think? I don't really see a negative.
I think it all sounds really well,
Yeah.
but I think that
So you said your fee is based on, it's up capped to 0.5%
Correct.
and based on per transaction.
Yeah, it's on the specific.
Specific transaction. You anticipate doing it in, say, a year.
Well, just the three, basically. Those three I showed you in the recommendation. We would do a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and that would be three right at the beginning. And then, once the 1 year matures, we would ask you, do you want to reinvest? And that's just one. So it'd be basically 1 a year after that.
Okay, that way I got my head around it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the preferred scenario, 1, 2, and 3 year. We can do other things too, but this is sort of the best of both worlds.
If I'm not 100% clear on, and I'm pretty sure that it's the authority that needs to do that, which is the commissioner. There's no, you can do that in a commissioner, or you need to have a
Being average on that, for
authority.
or two, you, they maybe come to that with us, you're redevelopment, we'll make the vote that.
Whatever,
They're
but
totally two different.
they're.
I'm just saying, we invited them to our redevelopment authority. You guys would have a public meeting, or you have to advertise, so that anybody, and, yes, because the redevelopment commission is all on the tip and everything. The authority is all.
Authority was on the block.
We make that happen.
Okay, that
You
was-
guys is meeting on.
You just have to advertise their authority meeting.
Right.
Right, board meeting in the. Come next week, what's that, October 1st?
Or do you want to do it before our next
That's a,
middle? It's here, the longer you wait.
the longer you wait, the probably.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, it's 48 hours of advertising and have a special authority, correct? And if you wanted to get on this, split the,
We have a meeting next week, I guess we'll be that meetings, we're gonna commissioner meeting anyway, let's do that then.
that's up to you guys. You're the authority. Good, but yeah. I do like doing that. I enjoy it. Let us know.
8 o'clock.
On October first.
We didn't have a redevelopment meeting today.
Or not.
No,
No.
Yeah, yeah.
No, because your commission is technically before this, for the third Wednesday of the month.
okay.
Or you want to do it after commissioner meetings, we always have a break between that, right? There's
No, that was.
there's like that hour.
Oh my, I.
You got your. Your name is.
Stacy, do you want to come at 8 or be there after the meeting?
Yeah, so it's okay.
I don't know what.
Cause there's, we're not, husband, boys, or something.
Does anybody have any objection or move forward on this?
No, I mean, for what it's worth, just give our now, according to the health side. I mean, I don't know if I'm about to.
Again, if you find something, between now and our October first meeting. Send anything our way. So then we'll have a redevelopment authority meeting prior to our 1st of October,
Yeah, Kathleen.
8 AM in Catlin too.
Any other questions?
Do you have any questions about?
So that, I just was trying to listen in on what you were saying. So October 1st was the next time you'll actually talk about this, or what's the process, the protocol?
I think we just had a vote on that.
Okay. That's-
So the three of us are the redevelopment authority, so we'll do a public meeting on October 1st at 8 AM in Catlin. And then we can discuss it further and then bring it to a vote.
Okay. Great, okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Hopefully it was at least informative.
It was very much so. Heard some of my questions.
Amy, would you mind if I reach back out to you later on this week?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You keep sending this out.
Thank you, Dave.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
I guess I'll.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Second on the agenda, American Legion Post 146. But not a new road, it sounds like.
Come on down.
Heard, you heard a little about this before. Yeah,
I've got, new sheets for everyone. The first one I'm gonna give you is Alan Bannister's, what Alan thinks it would cost if he puts the, does the ductwork for us. Which when I say does the ductwork, not to get a whole ahead of everybody, but move the vents and stuff up. From our kitchen, to do the new roofing. And then second, what I'll give you is, this is what we decided to go with out of the two that we had. One was, Henson, and then the other one we went, and talked with was FBI. Reason being was about $60,000, so we decided we would go with FBI, which actually we got from Duke.
So David, while you're handing this out, I didn't formally introduce, this is David Kurtz, who is the current commander of the Legion Post in Rock at 146. Is that right, Dave?
Yes, yeah, I'm the commander. I took over for Ron Hoax Jr. So Ron was the one that spoke the last time we did this. And then I have now taken on the right, exactly, yes. So when looking at the FBI building there, if you were to look at the roof that is currently on the post, it's a flat rubber membrane roof. They were a big deal in the 50s and 60s. It's not a bad concept. It's just over time, water and snow, they deteriorate. Ours isn't done, but it is not good. So within the next year or two, we have to get a roof put on it. So what we had gone with was we need to pitch a roof, not use that flat rubber roof anymore. They're not worth it. When you look at some of the costs, what's going to happen is they have to do what they call cribbing, or some of you may call it a knee board. You have to build up wood on the existing flat roof so that we have something to put roof trusses to. And then that will help distribute that weight. Then we went with a pitched roof so that you can get snow and water that goes off. Big differences between FBI's and Hen and Sons was we did not go with a gutter yet. We said, yeah, somewhere down the road we can do it, but the main thing was we want a roof on now. So gutters maybe later. And if we do it, we'll talk with another outside source. The talk that we had inside is we'll do what we can internally to make sure that we get the gutters done. First and foremost was the roof.
So do we have the Henson?
I did not bring in a Hand and Sons bid only because we chose through the board to say we're not gonna go with that.
Higher,
165,000. Yeah,
under 60,000 higher.
yeah, sure was.
This is a metal roof, just right.
It's a metal roof.
You actually still have the rubber roof underneath.
Well, we'll still have the metal roof underneath it. Some of the cost that is gonna be incurred though is we have to run all of those vents back up.
That's an extra.
So that's where the 1,100 came in with, that's gonna go probably a little bit more so than a little bit less, but it's all gonna be, those are together. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, they are.
It wasn't the original cost, 120,000 total. Roughly.
Ish, yes.
Still underneath that.
Comparison wise, Hen and Son is a custom builder. FBI is is a corporate build. They're not in there to add a bunch. All we needed was weight bearing for snow, which they obviously do. Their engineer looks at it and tells you, yeah, if this is the length of the roof and this is the pitch, this is what the truss is, and this is what it can hold. So we didn't need to go down a custom work rabbit hole, but we have to have a roof on it. Currently, we are right at 60,000. That's what we have brought in collectively to the Legion. whether it been, breakfast. We did the gun raffles, and then 98% of that has been people donating money.
Basically, when we started this. You got the 60, want the difference, and if you even raise more money, the difference might be a little less.
Yes, yeah.
So basically you're asking. 40, 50 now.
Well,
I mean, that's.
Split hairs, yes, yes. 'Cause we're at 103,884. Why I'm trying to look at that without my glasses on. But yeah, and obviously the sooner we could get after it would be, better. But that's what we're going, so. Yeah, 40. 45, something like that, yes,
If Alan went a little bit over.
right. Well, if anything went over just a little bit, if we had a little bit of room, yeah. I'm not certain, so I don't want.
Fire suppression, I don't think it has to be vented out. It will run into the kitchen vent itself. So if the suppression goes off, the main vent that's over the stove is what pulls that up and out. It's not, something that we have to hire outside for. But yes,
I want to commend you all for the amount of funds that you raised since we last talked.
yes, yeah. The community has been wonderful. The community has done all of this. It's been, Legionnaires put out the word, and this has been all the community. Yeah, and they have been wonderful. Yes, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm glad I have a commissioner on my side. He can help selling tickets, but it has been 100%, and the community has been wonderful about it.
What was the initial that Ron initially came in and was talking about?
Oh,
So they're lower that.
When?
I asked Tammy how I couldn't remember how that conversation.
I want to say we were at 120. I wanted to say we were at 120 originally. Is that right, Tammy? I believe it was.
Yeah, I thought we were looking at.
Greg's got.
I'll add, because I was here during that, so, what happened, I think Matt Gibson made the motion in October that the council would match up. If we raise 60,000, they would match up to that 60,000. Because, and that's where we were with the roof, and then anything, if we come in underneath that, there's other things that need put in there, ceiling tiles. There's some other maintenance, if you guys have been in there.
What was the quote for the gutters?
Do what?
If you included the gutter.
We hadn't gotten one from FBI yet, Bob. We hadn't. It was one of those, let's get started and we'll. If anything, if we did do the gutters, I would assume we would go with Smart and Son. The idea is to try to keep it as community based as we can.
Thank you, good work.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sure do. Yep. But I'm not certain on what the cost is for that. I can get back with you on.
So do we have the funds available for this request? Are the funds available? They appropriated last year, Tammy, when?
I don't think
Did we
we
take
had,
action in October?
Cause it was still.
I don't think that we actually had a solid number to go with. We just threw out what we would, match. Yeah.
Yeah, what you guys can match, I think you're right, Tom, on that. And so, yeah, it was up to 60,000 and like I said, I know there was some questions about smarts. I think the roofing people, as Dave pointed out, so I guess it was out of their realm to do the actual, the structural part. On that.
Do you believe we took action to match?
If my memory serves me right, Matt made a motion in October and you guys then voted
I
to.
don't remember that, but I might have been the comment.
Well,
Was it September?
I can't remember when that was, but Matt and
With the request funds for a new roof, the current roof is rubber, they have raised 39,000 so far, they would like a metal roof to raise the roof instead of having a flat roof. We are requesting a grant for a match up to 50,000. Council asked questions about current funding. Michael Mark stated that they did not normally give a company directly. What we've done in the past is we've given the money to the town of Morocco, who could give to the Legion. There was discussion on how this could be done. Council did not take any action today on commitment are committing money because it has not been advertised. There is also questions if the money could be given to the VSO instead of the town of Marco. There was discussions about that option. Scott Carlson suggested asking one member of the council, one member of the commissioners, and one member of the Legion to form a committee of some kind to form a plan. Michael Marks said he would volunteer. Ron agreed with this would be fine. David Atkinson also said, oh, for AEDs, so that was the end of the conversation. There was no votes there.
Was there any discussion in October?
No,
So you said it was 50, not 60? Okay, I was incorrect on that.
This second year is still under 50. Why can't we give this directly to the Legion or directly to the PSM? Assuming we have a money.
I don't know, as, I think the comment was we never have. It's always either by big round of development or through the town.
From what I remember vaguely of the conversation, I think it was, and again, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the conversation was Michael or Matt had said something about not wanting to go through VSO.
Yeah.
And that opens the door for them. Or opening a door.
Also, I know there's
Yeah,
side.
so
Michael had called me after that meeting, because I was still at the town, and asked town service to pass through. Where the funds would go to the town of Morocco, we put it in our redevelopment, and then it would go to the Legion. As a nonprofit, or else the economic development, whatever legally.
What are you guys gonna do it?
So that agreement was already in place. So I'd be willing to make the motion to match what they had, if that's was the original agreement, if there's funds available. That's what I don't understand. Is it coming out of landfill tipping? What's it coming out of? Economic
it
development?
cannot come out of.
I think that was the intent,
I think original was economic development.
that it would probably be landfill funds that would fund it. The landfill funds are extremely short today. That makes it go.
I think we got that, in county general law.
Then the question is that's tax money
Going to.
is that with,
Right, taxing it into another taxing.
well, if you're sitting block of that way, or that even so directly to them, I don't know. I don't know if we want to.
What is Morocco economic development and taxing to be?
No, or you could go through the county and.
Economic development.
And I think that's, Bob, I think, because you know better than me, if we went through the town of Morocco, how would that work?
Well, it'd have to come out of landfill tipping, but if it came out of county general, it'd go to economic development.
And I think I know when Tim was still here, that's what we're gonna do, so. But I don't know if Mike's been involved in any of that.
We just thought about asking landfill just to. Just right out there.
We have never gone to the landfill. No, we never have.
They don't because they get-
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, we were told not to go to landfill.
So it's either you filter through economic development, there is rainy day money.
I think the Tom's point is, you guys raised $60,000, pretty incredible. Most people show up with nothing, right? And I think if Matt made that motion and that was the intent of the board, I'd like to make a motion that we match what they've raised.
I'll second,
Pending Tammy figures out how to pay for it.
I'll second that.
I would just go with the difference. I mean, if it's 40,000 to the 60,000, that's great. But if they're 35,000 short, they're 45,000 short, they've already got 60.
Well, what is the exact number in the difference? Did anybody calculate that?
Just a little shy of 35,000.
44,884.
But I mean,
So wait, whichever number
Was that
is
for-
second, right?
45,000.
I just like to see them be able to put gutters on it.
Yeah, that's.
That's what I'm saying, so if we give them a little extra, they put gutters on
yes,
it.
but I don't think gutters are gonna cost.
I'll just say, I'll find a motion.
Wouldn't think so.
Can I suggest something?
Absolutely.
Like to see this done right one time.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
if we could get a small group, like we tried last time, it kind of got the ball rolling, but then they've changed a lot. To come back in a couple of weeks with some clarification, work with where we might get the funds, how it might flow. Does that make sense to you? You've made a motion.
So how would you like me to amend my motion?
Maybe withdraw that one and just, I'll appoint a committee to come back at our next meeting with a plan on how we.
As long as you agree, at the end of the day, they're gonna get their funds somehow, it's gotta
Yeah.
be.
But I
I
guess,
don't think you're gonna have anybody sit on this, board to do these boards, anybody, to be honest with you.
The question is, though, Scott, do you want to wait the whole month for that? So if they want to get started for winter.
What's your timeline?
Hey, we'll do what we have to do. We're gonna continue to raise money. But
Winter doesn't play in as much.
Yeah.
Right.
yes, Roger, no, absolutely, yeah,
I think it's good.
that's,
Duke told me, I think it's good until the end of August or up into September, but
November 25th.
yeah,
Yeah.
what's it say, Dave?
September 25th.
Right, and it, you know, it could adjust a little bit. I talked to Duke, but, I can contact him again.
I don't care, I don't want to muddy the waters, but I think there are several different funding options. that I Get into. It may take a long time today to figure this out.
I'm good with you, what you said. If we-
Yeah, I think I'm gonna save my motion. I'll make the motion that we match pending, that there is a funding. option.
Show your motion again, Coach Bob.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we honor the council's commitment of September with Matt Gibson, right? To match the amount of money that they raised. Right, to be used for the roof project. Pending our auditor as a direct funding.
Like, is there money that come out development fund right now to kind of loan them to get started? We just give it back, we figure it out.
Yeah, we probably do, if that's the direction you'd want us to go.
I'm just thinking before we make, you know,
Yeah, we're happy to help facilitate that. And transfer, if that's where.
obviously, like, you need a month. You've got the cash. Fund it back to you later. See, does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Will you be able to do something like that without the, direction of the. County Development Board?
No, the board would have to. Allow me to do that, but I think that we have the funds to do that, but yes, they would have.
I was thinking get the ball rolling before the month from now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And that's still.
well, this is gonna come down to when Duke can get a crew there too. But I wanna make sure if it says September 25th, that we can at least get a hold of them and say, hey, we're gonna get the ball rolling to get started here. Right. But we will do whatever you need us to do, Scott.
Not what I need to do.
We're here to do what we have to do.
Motion by Bob, seconded by Mick. Honor the September motion, the motion made by the council at September meeting. 24. To match the monies raised by the American Legion Post 146 for their roof. Project. Pending the auditors.
Show the direct source of how we can raise, actually pay for
Not sure that we're gonna do it.
it. Auditors funding options.
Well, the motion is. Pending the auditor's approval button.
There you go.
That all right with you, Nick? Second. Put it on. Yeah. So I think that original September motion was put up to 50,000, was that what it was? So it capped at 50,000.
Yes, if we're
Honoring the motion.
do the 50 and that might go to gutters and then it goes for fans or building.
Right.
So, good with that motion. You understand? All those in favor of the motion, or any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good work.
Yeah.
Whatever my council commissioner then.
That's been, I think we're all for it. You need to vote on it.
I
Scott, you need us to come back next month for anything?
I'm not sure if we on standby.
Okay.
I would work with economic
I
development.
think we need to have a commissioner, a council, a person. Yeah. Gotta.
Yeah.
If we wanna get the money in place by our next meeting, I have to have the additional by next Friday. So if we're gonna create a small committee and for me to help find where it is, we have to start acting now. Otherwise, it's gonna get pushed off to
So
November.
I would ask for. Bob or maybe one. Do it. Like that, yeah.
I'll do it.
Steve, Tammy, probably David, Greg. Figure out.
Maybe like two.
I would like to have economic development personally involved in this.
Yes.
So you guys get together soon? Tammy, I think. Okay,
You good? You got everything you need from me?
I think we're well for now.
If you need anything else, you know where I'm at. Just give me a holler.
We're at the-
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Do we need, before we start the next one, is everybody good? 2 minutes.
We're gonna take a recess.
So, September last.
Do this there.
Minutes from them.
How long do we start?
No, it was recording the whole time. It says it says recording. I heard it stop, but.
Reconvene, recess, the stop council meeting, the joint meeting.
We'll reconvene these commissioners.
Joint meeting. So the third thing on our agenda today was economic development. Mike, you want to specifically the Marvella Sports Complex, I think is what we're going to talk about.
Yes, good, Mike. Yeah, let's get, no, the microphone.
It's off. There's no drain line.
Power button on the back side.
You can have mine.
The battery's running like that.
Is,
Check. Yeah, you have this one.
Is this one?
No, I'll get this one going. This doesn't work, we'll switch to you. Go.
Yep.
There we go. Good morning.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. On behalf of Economic Development at the request of GT Sports, we come before you to request a reappropriation from landfill to economic development for $5 million for the GT Sports Marvella project. The $5 million will be used for a $60 million investment of phase one. We are happy to have Glenn Tilley, CEO of GT Sports, Norm Wayne, legal counsel, and project partner of GT Sports, and Mike McCloskey, a longtime business owner with economic development today. Over the last year, I hope we have highlighted the economic and quality of life impact this project will have on Newton County and the region. The project will be one of the first in the state's history and will demonstrate a commitment to continued development through housing, restaurants, and retail services. In May of 2024, 9 points of interest were identified as terms and conditions pursuant to the initial approval of the $5 million. In brief, number one, create guidelines using the SURF agreement to guide economic development in the management of the funds. Those discussions are started. Number two, if no lease is signed, no funds are dispersed. A signed lease is completed, has been emailed to everyone. Number three, create a forgivable loan agreement and shall be agreed and signed by GT Sports. Discussion started. Number four, create and sign an agreement for free facilities use in non-peak hours for North Newton and South Newton schools. That agreement has been signed and completed. Create and sign an agreement for GT Sports to provide a qualified athletic training person on campus at both North and South Newton events at no charge. Those discussions started. Number 6, from the first day of construction or dirt move, GT Sports will have no more than 18 months to complete phase 1. We are requesting an amendment for that. Phase 1 has now increased from a $32 million to a $60 million project to include both a indoor and outdoor facility. So obviously a larger project is going to require more time to complete. We'll be asking for 24 months for that from 18. Number 7, GT Sports will provide a monthly report for economic development or Baker Tilly. They will comply with that. Number 8, if GT Sports receives less than 10 million in total grant funding, then no money will be dispersed. We're requesting an amendment. GT Sports was able to secure 8.5 million from state grants. They do have a shortfall on the amount that they thought that they could raise. However, phase 1 has increased from the original 32 million to a $60 million project. And GT Sports was able to raise that additional $28 million from investors and financing. And number 9, GT Sports must work with all public safety officials in creating a public safety response plan. I've spoke with Matt from EMA and those discussions have been started. So today, Economic Development's request on behalf of GT Sports for consideration is to reappropriate $5 million from landfill to economic development, business development with 2 amendments. One is the previous $10 million grant requirement be lowered to 8.5 million and the time allowed for construction be increased from 18 months to 24 months. Thank you.
Well, if I may start. Although this agreement is quite detailed, in the short period of time I had to actually review it since I just got it last night. It contains electronic signatures but in my eyes, it's still not complete. The first section of the agreement titled Ground Lease under Recitals says in part that the landlord owns certain approximate 110 acre parcel real estate situated in Newton County, Indiana, which real property is depicted on Exhibit A1 and legally described in Exhibit A2 attached here too and made part hereof, isn't attached. In fact, additional exhibits on pages 43 through 47, page 50, page 57, and pages 61 through 63 are missing. Portions of very informative information, including dates and Exhibit G on page 58 of this. The final insurance requirements in Exhibit D on page 51 still needs to be reviewed. Perhaps one can say that these details can be attached at a later date, but in my eyes, if this information is not included now, it's still not complete. When the project first came to this council, we required certain caveats to be met prior to releasing funds and development. I have to admit, when this first came to us, I was very excited about the project, and in fact, I still am. I'd like to see it happen. Both the changes in the phases of the project, as well as Marvell continuing this benchmarks that we've set. I don't know if I can still support funding coming down. Looking at some of the things that you just mentioned now, you even said that you needed to make amendments to some of the agreements we've had. And that seems to be an ongoing thing. So for those reasons, I'm not saying I'm totally out, but as this goes on, it just seems to be rolling and rolling and rolling. And I understand sometimes things take time, especially when you're dealing with 2 major organizations it's involved. But funding from our landfill is not where we hoped to. And if it just continues, I don't know how long that we would even be able to fund any part of the fund. What else? Let's do discussion.
And I agree with everything Tom said. But Tom has a very valid.
So what are some of the missed benchmarks? Can we go through them one by one?
Yeah, so back in May of 2024, legal counsel, Linda Harris had created a letter of commitment and of 9 bullet points, terms, and conditions that shall be met before funds are released.
Which ones were not reached?
Well, the thing is
10 million.
yeah, so the two that we would need to amend is they projected, and we're hopeful that they would get 10 million in state grant funding. They were able to get 8.5, which is a big deal. To get that much collaboration and support from the state is a big deal. So we don't take that lightly. That's a very good thing. But they fell short on.
Was 10 million and they raised 8.5.
Correct. And then the only other second thing was that, we allow 24 months instead of 18 to complete the project, because the project's a lot larger than it was going to be that they thought that they could build in 18 months, so.
I mean, that's not a big deal.
No, I mean, that's a good thing. The project's larger, we need more time to build it. That's not a big thing, but. And these things that, these other things where in terms of discussions are started is obviously they will all have to be locked in our terms and conditions between the county and, GT Sports and Marvella would have to be secured before any funds are released. We still have a lot of work to do. It's just we're asking for the reappropriation into our account like we did last year. The project's just taken longer because there's a lot of funding partners involved in this project. It's a very large project. And so they're still working on it, and that's why it lapsed for 24 into 25. And so we're asking for the remainder of 25 and then potentially 26 or however that would work, but.
So is part of why the 18 months is now 24 months because they went from 3 phases to 2 phases, or?
It's because phase one was yeah, it's gonna be bigger. So phase one includes both an indoor facility and 6 outdoor fields. So it includes both components. And the phasing structure has been adapted, but again, when you have that many funding partners involved in a project, they're looking at their ROI and all those discussions are had and made, and projects do change. But that's where they're settling now is the indoor facility and outdoor in phase one.
Everybody except the fact that we're not gonna give the second.
Right, we've had those discussions.
But
We're worrying about 5 million now, yes.
Was this first 5 million part of the discussion about it being the last money used? Was that this money or was that the potential other funding?
We have discussed that on any funding from the county. But again, we would have to define those in the terms and conditions, but we have spoke about that, yes.
I feel like as far as the grants, if you look at, I tried to find some statistics, but it's mid-year and I mean, every category of every kind of grant, regardless of what you're doing or who you are, the funds are not there. We have non-for-profits that we work with and stuff, and you just can't get the money, no matter how good your project is, your idea is. So, you know, I don't know that it's for a lack of trying, it's for a lack of availability as far as the grants. I mean,
We have less money than we thought we were gonna have.
oh, I agree. I agree with that portion of it, but as far as like that amendment, I don't feel like it's deliberate in any way.
I don't think it was deliberate, but I do feel pretty confident. I did not make the motion, but when that motion was made, it was based on information that was provided by GT Sports and what they expected to get. And I personally thought when that motion was made that was kind of conservative, that $10 million based on what had been told to us. So then when they didn't meet that, to me, that was a substantial thing because I felt, and maybe I misunderstood, but I felt like they were pretty confident they were going to get more than $10 million besides the counties. So
And
that is kind of.
And they probably were hopeful, but understanding that grants, you know, are very lengthy and it's, we all know, we've all applied for them that we hope, and then, you know, it might not happen. So to be able to secure 8.5 out of 10, I think is still admirable for the work that they had to do to get that.
So am I right in thinking that we could say, you didn't live up to your side, we're not living up to ours, could we go proportional? Right, or do we say 8.5 is pretty good, we're still willing to do our part? I guess that's our three choices really, right?
For me personally, it's just one number up there. I think that if we're gonna amend anything, that it opens the door to amend thinking everything. That's just my personal belief that there isn't, there isn't any document that can't be agreement of everybody amended or changed. But once we start that, I think we're gonna open the door.
And or revised to change up.
It just, that's all I'm showing.
Is there, I mean, do you mean besides these 9, are you thinking that these 9 are not?
I think once we agree that, or we're told that we're not gonna get it done with these 9 conditions, you could go back to square one. I mean,
No, I'm not saying so much that we want to do that.
but I think that's what could happen.
Oh, I understand that.
That's
Yes,
what I think. And I'm not predicting, I'm just saying,
yeah.
I think if we alter this in any way, what was paid, that it has opened the door to alter every bit of it.
There's some precedents.
You're. And I'm not saying that would happen, Mike. I'm just-
No, I understand, and maybe I'm misunderstanding it too, but this was a letter of commitment prior to any disbursement of funds. So like I said, all of the terms and conditions in terms of how and what benchmarks we use are still yet to be worked out. So this is a living document before any monies are dispersed, not just to reappropriate it to us. So it's kind of like we're looking at the step well before that, just asking for the
This
reappropriation.
letter of commitment as the county is committed to give GT Sports $5 million when they meet these 9 criteria. That's the way I think it.
And basically that 8 of it, because the 24 months, I don't think that's a big issue, bigger product, but.
But that's just my opinion. So.
As far as the availability of funding, so hypothetically, if this was to occur and get started, when would our funds be needed? Not,
We would,
not 2026, like actually physically needed.
yes, probably 2026, I'd have to ask Norm. And the thing is, our terms and conditions are going to be set, kind of like the CERC agreement, are going to be set on when those funds are dispersed and the benchmark. So 26 would be, I would think that there would be some dispersion 26 for the project.
I think I'm gonna be dispersed until 26.
Well, I mean, they're hoping this is the last,
This would go
Pearl.
into the holding, whoever we used, like we did on the service, that would say.
yes, yes,
In this year,
and into Huntington, yes.
as long as we're, I just want to clarify.
I was
Funds would leave Newton County and go into our holding. So we call that, these were served,
Huntington Bank.
it was Huntington Bank
Yeah.
specifically, but
So in 2025,
in 2025, they may not use them,
Right.
though. But any monies that would earn comes back to the county and that,
And,
in the previous agreement.
and that helped us with CERF by it sitting there, allowed us to gain, and capture interest, which allowed to pay for some legal fees of the project and stuff. So it
Yep.
was beneficial for us
So I
to do
think
it
to
that.
answer Heidi's question, I think her question was more, when would you want the money from the county?
right, since
And it would
we're,
be 2020.
Correct. Correct.
And can we also jump to like the missing documents? That was a concern that you had.
Yeah, that was a concern of mine. I mean, exhibit G doesn't even contain signatures. There's stuff missing and. Tom, I appreciate your due diligence. I got this yesterday and then I was in an executive session all yesterday afternoon, but.
Yeah, I mean, my main concern with that entire agreement was the section that required certain dates. That one even had to do with, the duration of the lease. Let me bring it up. is the, Exhibit G, which is actually there. But again, it's not complete, the form of, memorandum of lease. Concerning the ground lease. Memorandum of ground lease, this memorandum of lease is made as a one. Which is supposed to be the effective date by and between the landlord and the tenant.
Mike, you wouldn't mind.
Yes, I was gonna,
So,
in real, I brought a printed copy and I have all pages, so I printed from the same email I was sent, so there should not be any missing pages in the email if it was printed out.
Well,
Printed this
what,
from your email,
Yeah, no, so did I, and I have all six, I don't have any missing pages, so
well, it's not that they're missing, they're just nothing.
oh, okay, yeah, I understand.
so in my review of the missing documents, I guess if you go through, and I'll get to Exhibit G, but a number of the initial ones, A, B, C, and A, B, and C all are, I believe, they're waiting on the surveys to get the legal descriptions necessary. That is something that I don't think is necessarily subject to any sort of other interpretation. That is just a paragraph description that's ultimately going to get, that's something that shouldn't cause any reason for concern. That will be provided. That G, that memorandum, is nothing that alters the material terms of the lease. That will be, now that the lease has been fully executed, that is, I believe, would be the document that would get executed and recorded with the county recorder, so that way the material terms of the lease are not subject to public record. It's my understanding that GT Sports, parties involved are intending to maintain confidentiality over the material terms of this lease. So the fact that that memorandum has not been executed does not change or any way alter, and its execution will not change or any way alter the material terms of the lease. It is simply just a brief recitation for purposes of recording.
Well, it seems to me that, we've been trying to be appeased by some submissions that we've received that were considered a signed lease, when in fact wasn't. And, you know, as this progresses, then we get this and find there's still a lot of missing information or blanks that haven't been filled in. How can I, not believe that this isn't still just something that's trying to continue to, roll the ball and not get it? You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And that's, I guess, and I can certainly understand the concern, and I guess where I look at it is from the material terms of what has been presented. You have a 45, 50-page lease document that all legal terms of the agreement between the parties have been agreed upon. We have, I guess, some immaterial as far as what has been requested, information that is yet to be provided. Now, obviously, it is material to the legal description is integral to this lease itself, but it's not a term that is subject to dispute. If the parties agree as to the material terms of the lease itself, the addition of a legal description of any particular part or parcel, the addition of a executed memorandum does not change anything and is not subject to any form of dispute. So, and I guess I'm trying to, think of a good analogy here, but those parts being done now or being done in, in a short time here and after, doesn't change what has been presented to you. And I can certainly understand the frustration of, hey, we asked for this to be done now, by this time, but we're looking at, from what was presented or what has been presented, the 8.5 of the 10 and the and what the execution of the lease, it is my understanding, a massive undertaking, and the what has been accomplished is substantial. I guess I would call it substantial compliance with what was requested.
Substantial. I agree with you. There is a lot in this, and it's quite impressive. When it gets down to this kind of stuff, I really cringe even looking over it because it just is mind blowing sometimes. Linda, is there anything that you'd like to respond as far as his explanation?
Sure, so back in June, on June 17th, Mike sent us a Marvella lease letter of agreement. And that proposed lease was 74 pages. This proposed lease is 64 pages, and again, since I was in an executive session all yesterday afternoon, I haven't compared the two, but we were given a proposed lease in June. And now we're given one that 10 pages they shaved off, and I don't know what those terms are, but like Tom said, if a court looked at this lease as it is, it's ambiguous because there are things missing. And that's a concern of mine.
Me, it's transparency. Yeah, I understand your explanation. But, bringing something like this to somebody and expecting them to understand everything that you explained, or why it's not there. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I don't think anybody with the exception of Linda sitting up there is an attorney. So,
Yeah,
I guess what we really want is, everything, all the I's dotted and T's crossed. Very simple.
I think Tom has raised very good points. I go back to, I agree with Scott. Let me preface by what I've told you. Every meeting with this has come up. I'm very supportive of this. I want to see it happen in the county and do. I think we've been clear from the beginning of the 8 things we need. I agree with Scott. I think if we open that back up, we, to take 10 to 8.5. In my mind, that opens the whole thing back up. So then 5 maybe becomes 3 or 2, or maybe it's not a forgivable loan and it's gotta be paid back over 10 years or, something like that. Again, I'm one person, but I think you open it up, you open all that up. I still go back to the question I've asked a few times. If phase 1 is all that gets done, county puts in $5 million, is this facility still a going concern? Can it continue on with only phase 1, or do we have to have all 3 phases for this thing to work?
so with the increase in size for phase 1, and I'll let them speak if you want them to on the project. It's larger now, obviously with the investors and bank financing, all those things that go into it, they want to see the entire campus built to make it return.
Right.
And so it's their best interest to move into phase 2 and phase 3 for their investors and financing to make it work. Phase 1 is bigger than it was, so could it stand on its own more? Yes. But they're looking at the total project, so they need and they want to build all 3 phases. I don't know if that's really answering it. Could they build it and it be self-sustaining? Yes, but could it be profitable and self-sustaining? Probably not. They need the other phases to make it, and potential future development to support that process. To support all those people that see.
Fill in the gaps real quick. So the lease property is within the TIF district. Is
Correct.
that true?
Yes.
And it's 1.3 million or $1.1 million in that district right now. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
Probably was.
And is any of that money being included into the project, or could it be?
That's not,
Could it be?
I think it would be able, that would be up to redevelop. But yes. I believe so.
Yeah, that's what TIF funds are, used for, is for TIF projects. I just didn't know if you guys had any questions that you wanted to direct toward Glenn.
Yeah, well, just to Matt's question, can phase 1 sustain? Done. Yes. From an investor standpoint, we have to feel we can optimize, so we can operate and we can be healthy. Okay, that's one of the reasons we made some adjustments to the phase one in order to accommodate that request from previous meetings that you've had. So number two, so we actually moved some of phase two and three up into phase one. It's a larger phase now, so 75% of the project is actually in phase one. So that we're able to perform, sustain and operate, be a viable operating business, limit some of that risk. So that was addressed. I appreciate that, yeah. Thank you. Okay. Some of, for the attachments, it'll be another 60 pages. There's a lot, there's a whole other, that we can forward. We don't have every single attachment because some of it is ongoing. We slide in that we're waiting on others to provide us that slide. But there are additional support pieces that we have that I can't remember what the attachments, there's a whole bunch. So, yes, some of that is just supportive of what is in the contract. That is signed. That lease that we sent to you, I believe, 2 months ago or whatever it was. There is no change whatsoever. I'm going to assume that there was just some blank pages in that other lease. Versus today, no change whatsoever. And the lease, I think, is actually 65 pages long without the attachments. You're going to be upwards of about 100 pages. It's a lot of detail, but we spent a lot of time.
So I can tell. Okay. But it would just be nice to have a quick document.
We can forward the next phase, and you'll have all this, it won't be every one of them, I don't remember exactly, I don't go back, there's a lot of pieces there, but only because we don't have. It's that, here, some of the things we may need from the county, just not having it.
It's about a large project, I can understand.
Yeah.
Things will take some time.
But there are attachments, I think, Karen, I think it might have been a logistic issue. She had a tough time. I think emailing the attachments, she cut it down into that, to the DocuSign. I think that might have been a logistic issue. But I'll follow.
I'm sorry, Mick, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say that, the maps that we've seen before, everything was designated to be in Newton County. But when I look at the legal description of the property, it's blank. How do I know that everything that you're proposing is in Newton County? Because there's no legal thing on what you said,
Are you referencing the ground lease agreement?
Yeah.
Is there a specific page? or-
Page 44, it says legal description of the leased premises, and it's blank.
What is that?
44.
Well, they're looking at that.
Going to be the parcel list,
Yeah, that.
but I can rest
Yeah.
rest assured that
Yeah.
there will be no Newton County money going to a non-Newton
Yeah,
County project.
And I assume that too.
Yes.
But
No, in terms of, like I said, all those terms, conditions and things of that nature, this lease agreement's between GT and the landlord, the landowner, so we will still have our own terms and conditions on that fund dispersion with them. So this agreement is really between them and that land. But we wanted to know of it because we're still a funding partner, but we will still have our own.
So we.
And that's where I'll make sure that it is fair and protects everybody. And that's what our legal counsel, county's legal counsel, I will let smarter people in that realm of law do that with me. But that's, all those steps are still yet to take place.
That was just one of the blank pages that kind of stuck out, everything that I'd seen prior to this, the map stuff, and you had designated areas, was in Newton County. And then when I look at this, there is no mention. So,
It will be a new county.
yeah.
A colleague of mine, right down the street from me,
Would you agree with me that under the doctrine of completeness, this lease would be inadmissible in court?
I can't disagree with that. It would be deemed, as it's been presented, it would be deemed an incomplete, document.
Thank you.
So for clarification, why you guys were discussing the lease part, I asked auditor, you've asked that we appropriate $5 million that we had committed. But we can't take action on that today. It has to be an advertised additional. Does that make sense? I mean, because it is an additional, it wasn't a part of the budget. If it was part of the budget, it would have been appropriated. So it'll have to be an additional. I mean, this is great discussion and we need to have it. But for us to take action to appropriate money today, we have to have an additional request in front of us. Which has to be advertised, and that would have to, the next time we could do that would be our October meeting. And when's the advertisement deadline, like next week? So we can work out all the details, but to walk out of here today with approval from us, appropriated money cannot happen.
Okay, and I was
We
thinking of
could-
reappropriate because it was approved once and we'd be reappropriating it just for this year because we didn't use it for last.
It's approved in the 24 budget. 5 million less in it, but would have been dispersed then. It would have been, I believe that's correct. We did an additional. We took it out of the 25 budget with the intention that we will do it as an additional when it gets time to do that. So it was not in the budget. Once it was approved, in 24, it could be spent in 24. At the end of the year, that just becomes cash back in the bank account. And you have to reappropriate it again, since we did not put it in the 25 budget.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, no one disclosed that to me at all during
Well, and
getting on the
that's not
agenda and
the
things of that
first time it's
nature.
happened in projects that go
Yeah.
under my.
Because I hate to keep coming in front, talking about it, and I'd like to get it
Well,
done at once, so.
and to be real honest, sometimes it's a lot better to have the discussion ahead of when the additional comes in, because you get things all ironed out.
Yeah.
And then the additional better fits what, what it is, but just so everybody knows that
Okay, and
if
so,
we could all agree today to everything that you ask for, or you can agree to everything that we say, we can't take action on appropriating dollars until next month, and that's only if it gets advertised. By next, you have to have it to Tammy, what, next Friday?
I have to actually send it to the newspaper before 11 AM next Friday.
That would be the date on that would be. I don't have my phone. Let's get it.
so I'll work with Tammy, make sure that.
26th.
that
Next
we-
Friday is 26th.
I'd rather have it hand on the 25th, just in case, but.
I don't say that to discourage discussion today.
No, I'm good, and some things from Tom, everybody has been brought up that we can address. And not now, I mean, we can address, so then I can send it out to you, so. Some of your questions are getting answered.
Well, then Tom's third point in his initial discussion was, landfill funding issues. You want to talk more about that? I mean, I kind of said it in general, but anything specific?
Yeah, I mean, when Glenn brought this idea to us, I mean, like I said, we were excited about it, love the idea, and like I said, I'd still like to see it happen. But at that point, we were talking 5, 10, we're talking about the 15 million. And, a lot of us was new on board at the time. Yeah, a lot of us didn't even know exactly what kind of funding that we had in the plan. We were over committed to what we were doing, and that's another problem that we're having is that, there was a lot of projects that we were, funding for the county operations for other, things in the county, like the
Georgia Dave House.
yeah, Georgia,
Water sewer.
yeah,
Rose on.
there was a lot of stuff.
Mount Air.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is now, we're just at a point that when we were doing our budget hearings this year, a lot, if not everything that we had slated for landfill, we had to move into county general because we didn't have the funds. Funded through the landfill. So we still have funds in landfill, but we need to be careful where it goes, for one thing. So there's just a lot of things that we need to start taking into consideration, and, one thing that really saddens me is that, like I said, this ball's been rolling down the road for a while, and, you know, granted, projects this big, you know, they'll have changes, I understand that. But, you know, there's a very good possibility we probably could have this down problem earlier. If the project was taken care of.
Sorry, wait a minute here.
I said that if this project would have been to the point where we could offer the funding
Right.
earlier, it may not have come to the point where we're at now. As far as our available funds in the landfill that we were intending to use. So, yeah, like I said. Go ahead.
Finish what you're saying.
That's repetitive, so.
So I agree with, everything that's said. But in looking at landfill numbers here, I don't want you to walk out and say, we don't have the $5 million. We can make this work. Yeah, the money is there for the first 5 minutes, the 1.5 million. I think it all comes down to the 9 points, you know, on the original.
And if I would add to that, I think as we take on these big projects, there needs to be a timeline.
Yes.
Right, and that timeline needs to be set, it's this day, or, because it's just tying up our funds and other opportunities also.
Yeah, one thing we say from keep having to do, like what Scott was explaining, with the first 5 that we did budget for 2024, if I remember right. And we took it out of 25 and we're just gonna reappropriate it should that happen, or however it would be needed. So that's one of the reasons why we really look at timelines and try to stick to them, so, you know, we don't have to, they'll go and juggle things around like we have been.
Glenn, you read your.
Just a couple summary points for your awareness. Where this project was a couple of years ago, even from even 8 years ago, has evolved its scope. So we actually should look at it. So when it evolves, there's changes, but it gets better and more powerful. So to me, optimistically, we should look at that as a good thing. The reason it's changed the scope and has evolved is because of the huge market acceptance and enthusiasm behind it. So, and this isn't just the first in the state of Indiana, it's the first in the country. So that is significant. And from a public relations and marketing standpoint, this was I know I've said it before, I have to say it. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, yes, I'm a little disappointed that we weren't at 10 million with the state. I do know that with the Ready Grant 2, that we received the most of any allocation in Northwest Indiana's project. So that's still, that says something. The third thing is that from a funding standpoint, we continue to speak with the state to look for additional funding for phase 2 and 3. There is enthusiasm for that work. So we do expect, but I cannot say, because as you know, it kind of evolves and there's a new administration, and we've had to allow them to have time to get to learn about the project, and they're very supportive. We speak to them. That we have we have lots of enthusiasm. There will be likely additional support for our phase 2. So that's a good thing. Maybe we may have come up a little short in phase 1, but we feel that we're going to have additional phase 2 and 3. So, kind of, it's like that moving. The other thing I think is important that, is that we are with moving to phase 2 and 3, some of that into phase 1. 60 to 70% of the overall project really is phase 1. So we did that for 2 reasons, so that we could get moving quicker, but we had the support from our private side of investment, and they were all in, right? So that's great news. Like we're there, so to speak. We're there. We're ready to go. So to me, I think for us and for you is that significant contribution of 5 million is going towards not a third of the project now. It's going towards 60 to 70% of the project. And in my mind, that's how I just think now. That's it, right? And I'm thinking about now that at least if I have to figure a way to make a couple tweaks financially for phase 2 and 3, it's much more manageable. So we're in a much better position today financially to finance this whole project. And it is a significant project than we were today. So I think that is something we need to acknowledge. the last thing for your investment in phase one. We originally last year had just indoor athletic facility, phase one. Now it's indoor athletic facility plus, like, keep it simple, 10 outdoor fields, which we now can operate a significant viable business. I want to do more. Oh, that's the difference, right? It's from, a business person says, well, I want to keep going. We're being told, we're going to need more fields and more volume from the marketplace. That's the barrier. So I'm actually think we may even have to expand beyond where we are for phase 1, 2, and 3. So to me, these are all good things. And I know, I've been the sort of the mad scientist trying to wire this thing all together for 2 years. And because we started with a clean piece of paper, this is it, just an idea. Guess what? We're ready to go. We're ready to go. So it's a good thing. And I understand everything you say, everything's appropriate, responsible. But the good news is we are in such a good place, viably, responsibly, financially. So that's it.
Well, thank you for your input.
Kind of holding out the last here. I think that this is a very viable project, it's noble, it's also for children, girls, youth. And I'm very much in favor of it. And I have to acknowledge the obvious, as pointed out by the attorneys. That we don't have a fully executed lease and the only raised 8.5 in matching funds as opposed to 10. And I acknowledge the obvious, that's a fact. I still want to see this project go through. And I want to acquiesce to those two facts that they are not fully in place to meet the intent of the original 90-point document. But I still want to make a resolution or whatever it takes formally, say, let's proceed with this. And go ahead and ask for a reappropriation of the $5 million as requested.
I think they can.
I wanted
they
to
can
ask
make
you
a
how to-
request.
I don't make how to form it.
So we would encourage you to go ahead and do appropriations,
Put the
but we have
request,
also done it yet.
put the request there. Right.
So at this point, that's already happened, right?
I think we've,
He has to put the request.
yeah, the request is in India. I think just to recap, this is the advice I would give you. You've heard our concerns with the 9 points. I don't know that we should reopen that, but I also don't know that you're gonna get to 10 million. I think you should put in with Tammy before the 26th so she can get it advertised for our next meeting. And come to some resolution on this.
My feeling is there isn't anybody here that doesn't think it's a good project.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
don't think there's anybody that doesn't want it to happen.
Right.
I don't want to speak for everybody, but I have spoke with everybody and I don't know that there's anybody here that says, well, I want to nix this thing right now. I don't hear that. No, I think everybody thinks it's good.
You just work with Tammy on getting the
We need the request to.
additional reappropriation.
And I think there'll have to be all of us, some decisions on, are we, how adamant are we gonna be to the 8.5 is what it comes down to. You guys need to have a complete lease done. I think you're pretty close. I think it's kind of nitpicky. And along that regard, number 5, when you read that off, and that has to do with the athletic trainers. And you made reference to there's been conversations on that. It says in here shall be signed. I don't want to be so picky, but if we're gonna be picky.
That's a go, meaning from our company. That's a commitment.
I'm sure.
We actually offered that last year when we heard that there was an event that didn't have an athletic trainer
Yeah.
and somebody got hurt.
And I was aware of that.
That is committed. Just has to be, somebody has to.
There's still not a signed document.
Those are the right things to do. It doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, Scott,
Agreement shall be signed prior to funds being dispersed. Number 5.
yes,
You didn't mention it was. not.
correct, before funds are dispersed, yes.
But if we're gonna.
No, absolutely.
If
No.
we're gonna,
No, all of these things that were in discussion have to be completed before you get to that point of disbursement, yeah.
I agree.
Amended. It's
Amended. No, but amended, third word.
One other thing.
Yes, sir.
The local fire chief expressed some interest in being clued into what would be expected of the local fire department. Because out in that area, the Morocco Fire Department takes care of that area. And so he would like to be included in what, you know, what they're expected, you know, to be covering. So.
That emergency action plan will cover all that, correct? Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
I think you're looking for a formal commitment from the parties to include the fire chief in our discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you make that happen?
Absolutely.
Lauren, can you tell me before you hit the campus, how many dollars do we have unspent in the 25 annual budget? It's right here. You can get that to me.
If you guys.
Okay. So while she's looking that up, any other questions, discussion? Well, you'll get the request and
Yes,
and I apologize. I should have, I covered some. No, I guess I thought for brief. Oh, I'm done.
yeah, that's okay. Yeah, thank you though. I'll do what I got to on it.
Go ahead. I don't want you to walk away. We honor our $5 million. We've talked a lot to a lot of people about how tight landfill dollars are, and they are. But we have accounted for this $5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this, not to drag it on, as an investment. I'm wanting to grow, which means make more money in the TIF districts, which can be used for public safety and other things that benefit that TIF district. So I'm looking at it as an investment with a good return for us. So it's not just giving it out and yeah,
I mean, the project is exciting, the benefits it's gonna be bringing to the county, is exciting. It's a no brainer.
I know when I was in economic development training in Southern Indiana for a week. We had to talk about certain projects briefly and when I mentioned this project is something I was working on, there were people in that conference that said, yeah, we've heard about that. And stuff, so it's definitely captured attention across the state, so I'm hopeful and optimistic.
Once we get to restate the use of the event fees for each event, it is $150 we get spent for a family. The county can invest, can invoke an event tax, it's 5% or something like that. What can those this for? Restate that.
I think if the county voted for some type of admission tax, I don't want to speak on the legality of that, but that is an option that the county can invoke an admissions tax that we would capture funds from that. But I think it'd be more, I don't know exactly the criteria those funds could be used for, so I don't want to misspeak. It's just an option that we talked about. That is another viable return on investment.
This is the question. Years. Bob brought up the possibility of TIF. What's the procedure on that? Who makes that request? I know that it would be the redevelopment commission makes that choice. But if there was to be a request, how does that work? Because we never done that.
You guys would have to have a meeting.
But
I mean,
there
there-
has to be a request.
Correct. Yes, no, you have to do, you would have to appropriate the money for a request.
So I guess question. We being. Do they need to request? From Jim as well?
Let's just talk about.
They would give us the opportunity to.
So he can request that money out of.
Because I think one is their
Well,
appropriate.
No, there's one.
But,
So
okay,
we gotta fix,
you-
we don't have all that.
correct, you don't have all that spent because spring settlement sitting in there. And we wait till the end of the year to disperse to regional sewer and water, so you don't have all that money.
Then what's the result?
That's when we were doing stuff with Select and everything sitting in there.
So should you work with my couple of people, like,
Yes.
they want that?
Absolutely.
So your question was originally, we budgeted this amount, we carried forward this, we've done this amount in additional. So this is, this added together, that's how much we spent, but I also wanted to.
Anything else? Questions? Questions about?
No, I don't know. I don't have any.
No, I was just, this is, some waste, or the council, legal counsel. Work along Barton, or working the contract. That he also. So.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their time and the discussion. We really appreciate it. We know it's at stake here. We know what the project is, and we know how much it means to the county. So we're very appreciative of that. I just do want to clear up on the lease. There's been some discussion about there being, or it being interpreted as some sort of lack of transparency. And I just want to make sure that everybody here understands. Yeah, I understand that what was submitted may have had some blank pages or whatever, but the material terms of this deal have been laid out in full transparency to everybody who has had access to that document. So you understand the financials, you understand what we're telling about, you understand what's at stake. So we'll get that cleaned up. I think, we'll coordinate and make sure that everybody has that in time, but we just wanted to make sure that you were aware that this was not meant in slightest as a lack of transparency here, and we'll get that cleaned up.
There's only one ask I have with you. Your next submission be complete.
Yeah, understood.
Anything else? Ready?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We have thing, what's Stanley, you have anything?
The only thing I forgot during your council meeting is, since you guys are still is, board of kind of community services. I know we had received a phone call that one had resigned, but we don't have really anything officially letter to the council that they resigned, so I don't know how you guys want to handle that, but I think there's a few.
Do we need to? Could you procure that? The
And we want something in writing.
letter of resignation, and then we'll. Next meeting. Point somebody.
Yes. I know there was email correspondence with the community services. Okay, I mean, would that suffice or do you need it
We need
directly?
a letter person to have the board,
Right.
Person we appointed.
right?
Right.
And then we can move forward. That's so we will have an appointment. Right? Okay, sure. Hopefully enough. No,
What board is it?
Duke County Community Service.
Yeah.
Our appointment. Well, sure, I had a phone call, so we need something right, just haven't got that. Who was our appointment? Stephanie. That's not. You have anything with it?
It's been talked about.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh,
say that.
yes.
So, and I asked you guys kind of officially there, if anybody, October and November, if we could maybe switch roles, Commissioner Silvers will go second. And try not to schedule a joint meeting unless we absolutely have to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if anything comes that is joint material, then we'll just have to hold either a special meeting or come up with what month.
Because if we just do the switch, I think Tammy, both both boards are advertised at 8:30.
Yeah.
So we won't have to do any advertising, which is what happened first. That's okay. Fortunately.
It's just field time. Don't consider it.
Farmers on the council, I guess, don't count.
I told Scott, I said that.
You may have.
I'll see you in January.
So. Is there anything else down before the council specifically?
I moved to adjourn.
Second, I would like to thank everybody for supporting me the past couple of weeks. Whoever it is, you guys.
Steve,
And
Thank you.
Anything else for us?
We have, all those in favor, say
Aye.
Opposed? We had a motion second.
Sorry,
That's okay.
I'll second that. Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Meeting going.
So.